ready to put Canada first? Who's ready to make common sense common? Who's ready to dig some mines? You know how to do that out here. And who's ready to axe some taxes? Thank you very much to the Big Nickel. It's great. Here we are. And we're here in the Big Nickel. Although the nickel doesn't buy as much as it did 10 years ago. Anna and I went up to see the Big Nickel today. It was still there. We didn't realize that we're worried it might have gone missing, you know. People are running so low on money. Things get desperate. We didn't realize they had moved the Eiffel Tower from Paris to Sudbury. You see the Eiffel Tower? It was incredible. It looks even better here. Dr. Symington's here, so if anyone wants to have a medical emergency, now is the time. The other day, the last time I was here, he left right in the middle of my speech, just stormed out of the room. And I thought it was something I said. It turned out that his pager went off, and he had to go help a baby come into the world. Wasn't that incredible? What an incredible story. Something like that. He shrugs. It's like no big deal. He was in there today serving patients. And, when that baby came out, though, there was actually a tense moment. The baby was not making any sound. And that is a terrifying reality for any mother. And the parents were standing by waiting to see what would happen. And the good doctor leaned down and whispered something in the baby's ear. And all of a sudden, the baby burst into uproarious tears, screaming and hollering uncontrollably. And the mother was relieved, and the father embraced the little baby. And a few hours later, the father pulled the doctor aside and said, "What is it that you whispered in my child's ears to make him cry like that?" And the doctor said, "Well, I just told your little baby boy that his share of the national debt was $80,000. Works every time. And then we've got Jim Belanger. He's a logger, a miner, a farmer. He works in fuel. This guy is like designed in a lab to run in Sudbury, right? He's got all the boxes checked. He's going to work for the people of Northern Ontario in Ottawa instead of working for Ottawa in Northern Ontario. And more than anything, you heard the great story that my wife told of her life and mine, and it's the story of all of us here in Canada. It's the story of the Canadian promise, that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home on a safe street, protected by proud troops under our glorious flag. That is the Canadian promise. And it should be the richest country in the world. Yeah! Think about it. Wouldn't we be the richest country? We should be absolutely self-reliant. Look at our natural blessings. We have the longest oceanic coast in the world, the second biggest landmass, the third biggest supply of oil. We're the fifth biggest supplier of natural gas. We have the biggest supply of natural water, of fresh drinking water. We have the fourth biggest supply of farmland per capita of any country on planet Earth, the most uranium for nuclear, the most potash for farming. We have it all, and best of all, we have the smartest, best workers anywhere on Earth. We should be the richest people anywhere. We are a land of boundless possibility. But that Canadian promise, after 10 years of this Liberal government, is broken. Everything costs more. That's right, they're taking you to the cleaners all right. After 10 years, everything costs more. Work doesn't pay. Housing costs have literally doubled, rising more in the last decade than they had in the previous 150 years combined. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder overtake our once safe streets. And our country has become increasingly dependent on the United States because our own liberal government is blocking our resource workers from producing the things we need here at home. My friends, this is the question in the next election. After 3 terms of liberals driving up your taxes, driving out our jobs, and making us more weak and helpless in the face of the American economic aggression, do you believe they deserve a 4th term in government? Or do you believe that it is now time to elect a Canada-first conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, and make us economically independent? Now, the Liberals are going to pull a fast one on you. It wouldn't be the first time. They would like to trick you into believing that by replacing Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor, that they deserve a 4th term in office. And who is this new Liberal leader? Well, not only was he hand-picked by Justin Trudeau, just yesterday, President Trump said he'd much rather deal with the Liberal leader. And we know why. We know why. We know why because he knows that the Liberals have made Canada's economy weaker. He knows they have driven $500 billion of investment south. And he knows that Mark Carney backed down and caved into Donald Trump only 6 days after Trump threatened tariffs against Canada back in November. Mark Carney sat down at a mahogany boardroom table and he signed off on moving his corporate headquarters from Canada to New York, Donald Trump's hometown, taking jobs and opportunities away from Canadians and giving them to Americans, just like Trump wanted. While Mr. Carney was in that role at Brookfield, investments in the U.S. went up, investments in overseas went up, investments in China went up. But investments in Canada went down. Now we know that he's in a conflict of interest. He continues to be invested. He originally said he no longer had any connection with Brookfield. Well, now we know that that's not true. He has millions of dollars of stock options and other hidden investments that would ensure that as Prime Minister, his interests would be acting against the interests of our country. That is why we need to get rid of the Carney loophole and the Ethics Act so that every Canadian knows the real financial interests that are driving the Prime Minister of this country. We need to put Canada first. We need to put Canada first, and we have a common sense plan to do it. We will be axing taxes, building homes, fixing the budget, stopping crime, making Canada strong, self-reliant, standing on its own 2 feet, and standing up to the Americans. And it starts with a bring-it-home economic plan. Why I call it Bring It Home is because we are going to bring home our investment and business from abroad, and you are going to bring home more of the paychecks that you earn. That's what it means to bring it home. Absolutely. We're going to bring home our resource companies again, aren't we? We have incredible resources, but after 9 years of the Liberals, they brought in C-69. That means it now takes an average of 17 years for a mine to be approved. So that little baby that you helped give birth to there, doctor, that baby will be almost old enough to have a drink in the time it takes to get a mine approved. That's how insane it is. We have the 3rd biggest supply of oil, but we're importing 130,000 barrels from overseas and many more barrels from the United States of America because we can't get our pipelines approved. And here in Northern Ontario, we know that there is this incredible treasure chest that we call the Ring of Fire. We've known about it for decades. We've known about it for decades. And yet, I was talking to a First Nations leader from Martin Falls the other day, and I said, "Our shovels in the ground." He's a big backer of the program, of the project. I said, "Our shovels in the ground." He said, "Snow shovels." Why? Because they've applied for a permit to get the highway to the mine, and it hasn't even been approved. 5 years for the federal government to consider the possibility of maybe approving a highway that could go to a place that might one day be approved to have a mine. We're on the verge of losing the Ring of Fire altogether as investors from at home and around the world give up on the project altogether. They're trying to block us from bringing our resources to surface and off to market. The radical keep it in the ground ideology of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals is what's standing in the way. Stephen Guilbeault. Don't boo too loud, he's still in Carney's cabinet. This gentleman actually says he doesn't believe in building roads at all. This is the guy in charge of approving highways for the Liberal government up until recently, and now he's in charge of Parks Canada. My friends, we have a common sense plan to take back control of our economic destiny. We will repeal C-69. We will rapidly approve these projects. And just today, I announced that a Canada First government led by Pierre Poilievre will set the goal of granting the permits to build the highway and start digging the mines within 6 months, and we'll put up $1 billion to build that highway too. The aggregate and asphalt that will go into that road will likely come from right here in Sudbury. It will be your workers that will be supplying parts and will be traveling up further north and northeast into these mining projects in order to bring back these beautiful paychecks. Of course, Sudbury is like the economic center of Northern Ontario. This is where a lot of the business is done, so there would be enormous opportunities for our young people. And the message that I would give the youth of Sudbury: if you're a teenager today, get busy planning to do an apprenticeship. We need more boots, not more suits. We're also going to be approving big, beautiful pipelines made with Canadian steel. And liquefied natural gas. Do you know, we're the 5th biggest supplier of natural gas anywhere in the world, but we can't sell it to any other country than the United States. So 100% of our gas goes to the U.S. I think it goes for $4 for million metric British thermal units. In the States, over in Europe, it goes for $15. So here's some very simple math for our liberal genius friends. If you sell something that's worth $15 for $4, and you do that billions of times each year, you get really poor really fast, right? So why don't we do exactly the opposite? We have an incredible opportunity with natural gas. Let me think about it for a sec here. It only takes 11 days to ship to Asia from the British Columbia West Coast. It takes 20 days from the U.S. Gulf Coast. We have clean hydroelectricity to liquefy that gas. And what else do you need to do to liquefy gas? Cold. What do we have in Canada? Cold. It got so cold in Ottawa this winter, Justin Trudeau was seen with his hands in his own pockets. So what we're going to do is we're going to rapidly approve LNG liquefaction plants. We're going to cool that gas down to minus 161 degrees Celsius. Put it on a ship to Asia to break Asian dependence on dirty coal. Send it off to Europe to break European dependence on Putin. And we will turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people. And we will pass a big, beautiful, patriotic, bring-it-home tax cut. It'll be a tax cut on work, investment, energy, and home building. It starts with axing the entire carbon tax for everyone, for real, for good. And they're pulling another fast one. After Mr. Carney said for years the tax should be increased, he's going to hide it from the pumps for the 30 days leading up to the election, while keeping the carbon tax law firmly in place so that he has all the legal powers to simply flip a switch and turn the tax right back on at your gas pump and your heating bill the day after the next election, if God forbid he should cling on to power for a fourth Liberal term. But that's not it. He has been honest enough to admit that he will be bringing in a much bigger industrial carbon tax. This is a tax on cement plants, concrete plants, fertilizer plants, aluminum plants, aggregate plant, large-scale mines will be paying this carbon tax. Who do you think is ultimately going to get the final bill for that tax? You are. His answer was, well, you don't have to worry about taxing steel because nobody uses steel. Did you see that? This is supposed to be a genius economist. He doesn't realize that steel is literally the bones of our entire economy. Mining towns like Sudbury will be smashed with this tax. You know, that's another thing that President Trump and Mark Carney have in common. Both of them want to tax Canadian industry. Carney's carbon tax and Trump's tariffs target the same businesses, the same workers, and ultimately the same consumers. I'm against both the tariffs and the taxes, and that is why I will axe the tax for good. We will lower taxes on investment so that money comes pouring back. We've lost $500 billion of net investment to the U.S. in the last roughly 10 years. That works out to about $11,000 of Canadian investment that has gone to the U.S. to build pipelines, mines, business centers, semiconductors, and other technology, paying American wages with Canadian investment dollars. Why? Because here in Canada, the taxes have gotten so punishing and the regulations so burdensome that investors do not believe they can get a return. Even our own pension funds are choosing to move their money out of Canada. And of course, Mr. Carney, while he supports carbon taxes in Canada, his company has invested in American coal. While he opposed pipelines in Canada, his company bought pipelines in the Middle East. My goal is to cut taxes to bring those jobs and that economic activity back to this country for our workers and our economic independence. And that means... But we also need to ensure that you bring your paycheck home. I saw an incredible meme the other day. It was a father and a son sitting in a park on a bench, and the son said, "Dad, what is an income tax form?" And the father looked at him and said, "Well, son, it's the opposite of your report card. The better you do, the more you get punished." It's the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. And income tax is higher than ever before. People work and work and work, and they feel like they're on a treadmill, not getting anywhere. My plan will cut income tax so that you bring home more of each dollar you earn, and hard work actually pays off again. We need to make work pay again for all Canadians. And to do that, we need to ensure the dollars you do bring home retain their value. We've had 40-year highs in inflation because government money printing has driven up the supply of cash much faster than we grow the supply of the stuff that cash buys. So, in roughly the last 4 years, our money supply in bills, coins, and bank deposits has grown from about $1.8 trillion to $2.5 trillion. That's a massive increase of almost 40%. In that time period, our real economy grew by about 4 or 5%. So if you think of economy as being just simplified with 10 apples and $10, it's $1 an apple. If you double the number of dollars to $20, but there's still only 10 apples, well, all of a sudden you're not twice as rich, it's just that each apple now costs twice as much. What you need to do is reverse that ratio and actually grow more apples. In fact, grow the apples faster than you grow the money supply. That is how you increase the purchasing power of the people. So we have to stop the money printing. Stop the money printing and stop the underlying cause. The cause is a massive growth in our morbidly obese federal government. We need to cut back on bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, and foreign aid to bring our money back to Canada and put it in the hands of our people. And when we do that, we can support our own people. But we have to have, for you to bring home a paycheck, you have to have a home to bring it to. And right now, is housing expensive these days around here? Yeah, the Liberals want you to forget about housing altogether in this election. They want you to forget that your housing costs has doubled. You're being hammered. Our young people can't even afford the rent, let alone saving up to buy a home. When I was here for my last rally, I encountered the tragic story of a truck driver who had become homeless, fully employed, working hard all his life, and yet not able to pay the rent, evicted, living in his transport truck. This is not what a hard-working trucker who gave a half a century of his life on the highways and byways of Canada deserves. But we can do better. We can build the homes. We have the land. We have the carpenters. We have the lumber. We just need to get it done. And here's how we can do it. We know the real problem is that a third of the cost of a new home in Canada today is just government. Government taxes, government delays, government bureaucracy. In Canada today, in Vancouver, for example, 60% of the cost of a new home is governmental cost. More money for a new home goes to bureaucrats in office towers than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the homes. That's what we need to change. We need to slash the bureaucracy and the taxes to unleash home building and lower the cost for our working people. And I will lead the way by axing the federal sales tax on new homes to save you up to 50 grand. We'll encourage the provinces to knock off. I love you too. Thank you very much. Who's this guy here? Stand up there. Thank you. But look at that shirt, United for Freedom. What a great shirt. Amazing. Go to bringithome.ca. Anna's the one who designed all of our merch. Go to bringithome.ca. We're going to encourage all of our municipal partners to lower their development taxes, speed up their permits, and free up the land to build 15% more homes per year. But we're going to need more trades workers to do it. And that's why part of our plan to take back control of our economy and put Canada first is boots, not suits. We're going to back the trades. We're going to back the trades. It starts with bringing in tax fairness to allow traveling trades workers to write off the full cost of their food, transportation, and accommodation to go from one job site to another in order to get things built. Second, we will ensure that the lion's share of federal education and training dollars is directed not just to university education, but also to trades-based education. Absolutely. Our young people need to be encouraged to go into the trades because the trades are where the big paychecks are going to come in the future. And finally, I'm going to be sending a big, beautiful present to every single high school principal. It will be a box about the size of this stage. And in that box will be modules for every single licensed Red Seal trade for pre-apprenticeship programs that they can voluntarily take on and provide to their kids in the schools. I know, all the academics are going to say that education is provincial, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says the Prime Minister can't send a present to the principals of all the high schools That is totally allowed, and it's going to be fantastic. All of the incredible young trades workers, they're going to be making $200,000 a year. They're going to be working in mines. They're going to be building our homes, our office towers, our pipelines. These are the people that get it done, the folks who know how to dig stuff, build stuff, fix stuff, and make stuff. Those are the people we need more of. And we want them. And we want them to be able to live in safe neighborhoods again. We're going to bring home safety to our country. Crime and chaos has been raging out of control. Is there any crime in Sudbury? We have to stop the crime. We know that gun crime is up 116%. We know that violent crime is up 50%. Hate crime up 251% as mobs march through our streets, spreading hatred, smashing windows, and tearing our communities apart. We know why this is happening. The good news is we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they're very productive. It's a very small group of highly motivated, repeat offenders who are released again and again and again onto our streets. Now, it's the result of C-75, the catch and release bail system, which sees offenders. Offenders are released onto our streets before the police have even finished doing the paperwork on the crime. Often, the same criminal is arrested 3 separate times for 3 separate crimes in one day. Don't believe me? The BC Union of Mayors wrote a letter to the federal government saying that they had to that the city of Vancouver had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means each of these guys was arrested once every 2 days, and those are just the times they got caught. I mean, that's hard work, right? These guys, they're not unionized, they don't have benefits. The guy's got to be up at the crack of dawn to rob a bank. He's carjacking by noon and selling fentanyl by 2 in the afternoon if he's getting caught every 2 days. They do get room and board, though. They stay at the Hotel California. They check out, but they never really leave, right? In Penticton, there's one guy who does so much crime, one guy in Penticton, no, it's not him. No, it's another guy. Anyway, this guy does so much crime that when he's out of jail, the crime rate for all of Penticton actually goes up. It's incredible. But the good news is we know how to fix this problem. We keep the repeat offenders in jail. That's why common sense conservatives will repeal C-75 and bring mandatory jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. And then there's the drugs. The fentanyl, which has torn apart our communities. We've lost 50,000 people to drug overdoses in the last decade. That's more than we lost fighting for Canada in the Second World War. The reality is that this drug is 100 times more powerful than heroin. It is massively addictive. There are stories, heart-wrenching stories that I hear right across this country. This is the result of drug liberalization and decriminalization, a policy of using taxpayer money to give out opioids, hydromorphone, and other opioids that are supposed to displace more dangerous and poisoned drugs, but in reality, they just get resold to children in order to use the profits for adults to buy even more dangerous drugs. This is a heartbreaking story, my friends, but we are going to turn this story around, and we're going to turn hurt into hope. We're going to fight for the lives of our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our neighbors. We are going to truly ban the drugs. We're going to bring in life sentences for mass fentanyl dealers. It takes only 20 milliliters of fentanyl is enough to kill 40 people. So that's how devastating this drug is. So anybody who is caught marketing those volumes has to be locked up for life, because you are guaranteeing, if you're selling that volume of drugs, you are effectively committing mass murder and should go away to prison forever. But that's not all. We're going to invest in treatment. Treatment and recovery is the solution. We'll get our people off the streets, into recovery centers, into places like the Oak Center in Winnipeg, where they give the young men the ability to detox. They have physical exercise, counseling, group therapy, job placements, transition into housing with high rates of success that give the people a chance to get back on their feet and start their lives as productive members of society. So my message to anybody out there who's suffering from addiction, hang on, have hope, help is on the way. And then there's our border and the issue of guns. You know, the Liberals want to ban your hunting rifle. They tell you, ever since the Liberals started this campaign to demonize and harass licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested sport shooters and hunters, gun crime has gone up by 116%. You see, while they're busy harassing Grandpa Joe for having a hunting rifle, they're turning loose gun criminals, and they're allowing 99% of shipping containers to come into Canada without any inspection. That's where the guns are coming in. It's not from the licensed people who have a possession and acquisition license, a PAL, much less those who have a restricted PAL. Those are the most law-abiding people there are. We know that because if you're a criminal, you don't go out and get a gun license, right? It's pretty simple. So we are going to repeal the Liberal ban on our licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested hunters and sport shooters. And we're going to redirect those funds into securing our border with scanners and watchtowers and 2,000 more CBSA officers to interrupt the drugs, the guns, and the stolen cars and stop the crime for real. You know, I want to protect Canadians from criminals. Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney want to protect turkeys from hunters. Which one makes more sense to all of you? They will be held accountable on Election Day when you vote them out. We're going to put our country first. We will have secure borders, but we will also have a strong military protecting our nation once again. We will retake control and exercise our sovereignty for our skies, seas, and soil. We'll rebuild and replenish the troop numbers. We will redirect funds away from foreign aid into funding our soldiers and our veterans. And it starts with taking back our control and our presence in the Arctic away from the Chinese and Russians whose spy balloons and submarines are slowly encroaching on our waters. The Northwest Passage belongs to Canada, and we intend to exercise that sovereignty. In addition to having new fighter jets and new Poseidon aircraft that can look down and intercept and surveil any potential incursions by submarine underwater, we will also have a stronger presence right across the north, including by opening the first post-Cold War base in Canada's Arctic, CFB Iqaluit. CFB Iqaluit will be a major nerve center and a major hub. It will also create enormous economic opportunities for the people of Nunavut to expand their local economy and infrastructure while expanding the Canadian presence in the north. We will have four new massive heavy icebreakers to dominate through the icy winters all across the north. We will double the number of Canadian Rangers in the 1st Patrol by adding 2,000 more of them so that they can be our eyes and ear in the Arctic and protect our sovereignty. We will massively expand the cadet program so that our young people can get more experience and mentorship from our soldiers. And I want more integration across our country. Imagine if a young cadet from, say, Sudbury could go up to the north and integrate with the Inuit Rangers and learn thousands of years of experience about survivalism in the Great White North. Or imagine if a young Indigenous person from the north could come down here and integrate with the Cadet Corps. Imagine how we could bring our country together around the idea of service and country and flag. We will restore our history. We will put up our statues again and put our heroes. We will celebrate John A. Macdonald and not only the man, but the vision of a great East-West nation. We will put our great heroes like Nellie McClung and Terry Fox and the veterans back in our passport. Our purpose here is to be a strong, self-reliant, sovereign nation that stands on its own 2 feet and stands up to the Americans. A nation that is the freest country in the world, where the common people are masters and the government is servant. A country that harvests its resources, builds homes for its youth, trades with each other, honors its past, raises its flag. A country that is not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, gatekeepers and grandees, rulers and rule makers. Instead, a country that is a country of entrepreneurs and explorers, a nation of artists and adventurers, a nation of workers and warriors, a nation that restores the promise of Canada, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home on a safe street, protected by brave troops under a proud flag flying high before our eyes. That is Canada, and that is what it means to put Canada first. Let's bring it home.